Okay. Vishnu, did you go through the material or did you try to see that?
అంటే జస్ట్ నార్మల్గా చూశాను.
Okay. What I would say,
స్టార్ట్
just to go through because you have a Saturday and Sunday. Okay. Uh, and what I want, one more thing is like, here the topic will be going into depth. Okay. In between, we will be going into depth. So if you, at least if you start reading basics for each topic, you can take your own days to prepare. Okay. So
ఓకే.
read the material until whatever I told. Okay. And as per the last class, we discussed on all the data types. If you remember, different data types like integer, float, character, boolean. Boolean is true or false, and then variables in Java, and what are the rules to declare variables. Huh?
యా.
Yeah, okay. So, and now coming on to variable declaration and initialization. What is variable declaration? Why do we need to declare a variable? And what is variable declaration means? Variable declaration means nothing but a process where we allocate sufficient memory space for a variable. For example, when you say int x, x would automatically have how many bytes? Integer would normally take 4 bytes, right?
ఎస్.
So 4 bytes of memory will be allocated to that. Whether the number you initialize the value or not, it would automatically take, it will automatically allocate 4 bytes of memory for that variable. So in order to allocate the memory at the back end, we should declare the variable. Okay, the declaration is mainly used for showing, telling the Java virtual machine JVM that okay, my variable x is an integer. Please allocate this much amount of memory. So normally the variable declaration syntax will be data type. Okay, data type space the variable name like v1, comma v2, comma v. So examples are like this. Data type is
రవి, ప్లీజ్ షేర్ యువర్ స్క్రీన్.
oh sorry. Right. Okay. Can you see that?
ఎస్.
Okay. Data types space variable names. Data types is nothing but if it is an integer space. Let us say the variable name is x. This is the way. If it is a character, char c, char b or something. This is the way how you declare. So the syntax of declaring a variable is data type space the variable name. Whenever you declare such a way, whenever you say x a, what happens is like in so if I say this is an for suppose if I say this is int a, okay, if I say int a comma b, let us say two variables, and if I declare such a way, when this line of code gets executed, what happens is like it goes and creates a block like this for a and for b. Okay, this is a and this is b. For this block, as I told you, the default value it should allocate memory. So it allocates 4 bytes, and the default value for integer is 0. So it gives 0 here. For here, it gives 1 more. Okay. So such a way. For this is the way how JVM maintains the memory. Not to make you visualize, I just drawn it. Okay. If it is a float, if you derive it as a float x, okay, then what happens is like there creates a variable for this float, sorry, for this float called x, and here the default value for this would be 0, 0.0. Okay, boolean also same, every variable. This is the way how the things gets updated. uh, this is the process where we have the data. Okay, let me paste it here. Okay. 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 And what is the variable initialization? There would be some situation for character. When you define a character, if you are defining a character without initializing any value, here it would show nothing, right? Because character doesn't store anything. Uh, but for remaining values we have default values as 0, 0.0. For boolean it shows as false as a default value. Okay, but for character it is nothing, it stores nothing by default. So okay, understood, Vishnu?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Declaration come initialization. What is the declaration come initialization? Means whenever you declare a variable, if you are initializing the value, then we call it as an declaration come initialization. Let us say int x uh, equal to 0. This is the way when we say when you are declaring a variable, you are initializing its value. I can initialize it to 3. So here the what value you will see in x, there will be creating a block for x and the value internally would be 3. Got it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is called as declaration and initialization at one at a time. Okay. Coming on to constants in Java, the next important principle is uh, constants. Okay, what is constants? Constants. Okay. What is constants? Constants are nothing but if you feel okay, I gonna declare a variable and its value is always fixed and it won't change always. So in that case, there is nothing like you need to always change. The value won't change. For example, if I say pi value, okay, pi value will be float pi. I can write a variable called pi, and I can write the value equal to 3 point something like that, 3.141917 or 17f. If I write it in such a way, this this variable pi value you never change in your, no one changes, right? This is a standard. If you in such cases, if these variables are fixed, you know them. In that case, we say them as a constant. Okay, the basic phenomena that we follow for a constant is like whenever you declare a constant, you should make sure that it's a normal standarding rules. If you write the variable name with capital letters, we feel that this is a constant variable. Normally it's a normal rule everyone follows. If constants are always declared, you declare the variable name with capitals. Let us say what can I say? For example, int, what constants do we have? Uh, what constants do we have? Any let us say anything. It can be like let's say basic salary of a company. Okay, basic salary for minimum salary for a company. It's always a constant. Okay, because whoever joins, the minimum salary would be always minimum salary. So I would declare as MIM minimum salary. If I make it caps, it's for our understanding. JVM doesn't consider whether it's caps or small. It's same, but as per the rules that we follow when we write a code, we feel like writing it with capital letters. So better write it in such a way. Okay. So the one more thing that we need to remember is like uh, uh, for how the basic question what I get from the constant is like if I say float pi equal to 3.14, if someone writes pi plus 1, pi equal to pi plus 1, so value gonna change, right?
Yes.
Yes. So what Java did is like, so whenever you feel this is a constant, please make sure that use a keyword called final before declaring it. Okay, it's
Why?
such a way. So if you say final, it would make sure that you can never modify it. Okay, and it feels it is a final value for that. Okay, so final is a
Okay.
keyword which is used for a constants and making them no one can override them. Okay, for suppose if you make pi as an final and if you try to update the value in the next line here in this way, then you get an compile time error. Let's do it in a program and see how this gonna how this is. I'm just creating a class called constant program because we are talking about constant. So this class would deal with constant. So I'm just trying to write the program in that. Uh, why is it showing error? I'm not sure why it is showing. I think it cannot be resolved. Okay, let me just go into some other. Okay, I'm just placing this in utils. Maybe that project has some errors. Okay, so it's not compelling. Okay, so I just close to the algorithms. I'm just placing it in browser and gone. Okay, I'm just declared it in a package called com.utils. I'm writing a code, and if I say float pi, normally we use capital letters for pi, so I would declare 3.1419 f, and if I try to uh, update the value of pi equal to pi plus 1, and we say sys out pi. I'm just trying to print the value of pi and see whether I am able to increase it or not. Okay, I'm just running the code, and in the console, let us see what you're gonna see. It just takes a few seconds. Okay, because I have a lot of processes running, and these are big programs. Okay, so if you see, the value got increased to 4.4. So let me just try to make it final and save the code and try to compile it. See, when you see some errors in the screen, it means it's a compile time error. See, it shows me a clear notice that the file local variable pi cannot be assigned. It must be a blank or not use it as a component assignment. What they say is like this is an error. We should not update it. But if I try to use some float, another variable float x, let me place it as x, and if I try to print you the value of x, then it works fine. Got it, Vishnu?
Yes.
So finally, keyword is used for making the values as cannot be changeable. Uh, uh, yeah, so finally plays very important role. Not only in these programs, there are different ways where we there are different places where we use final. Let me just put those also. So finally is an important keyword. Let me write it. Okay, for constant variables. So finally can be used at three different levels. Okay, final keyword can be used at three different levels. One level is at variable level, final at variable level. Variable level is what, where you saw declaring for a variable, the topmost examples that use it. Final can be used at method level. Even for methods also you can declare final. Okay, and even you can declare at class level. Got it? So why? What are these three different places? As you see the example here, finally was declared at variable level, right? This is the example. I can write even finally at some method level as well. Let me just show you how we gonna write it. Okay, I am renaming this file as some sorting. I created a new method called sorting with a return type void, and this is a static, and it has also the same code like a float. Same, I just copied it. Okay, I'm just trading. I'm just trying to make this method as a final instead of public. I will make it as a final. Okay, got it. In this case, we say the method is a final. Got it, Vishnu? Vishnu, if you are talking on, you might be talking on mute.
Yeah, 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 Ravi. I got it.
So what this is like, as you know, each and every operation in Java is performed by a method, right? Whatever the operations you do, we do within methods. We write methods, we do some code internally in that, and we do that. If we do not want to someone to update those methods, for example, if I say my sorting, so everyone should use this method and they cannot change it. So when you give few numbers to this method, it automatically sorts and gives you a result. So and if you do not want to change the definition of any method, and method yeah, if you have written some code, okay, and if you don't want to change the definition of it, in that case you can use final. Okay. Yeah, so that is the way even you can use for a variable level, method level, and even in the class level. Okay.
Okay.
So
The class level means where?
yeah, I will just tell you, before class level, there are some things you need to know in the method level. Okay, method level. When I say, we can use it in the use it as an okay. Means why I am trying to what I am trying to say is, there are two concepts called method overriding and overloading. Okay. Okay, method overriding and overloading is nothing but method overloading when method heading is same and method body must be different. Okay, in that case, I'm just thinking how to tell you. Uh, mm, with what example I can tell you. For that, I'm just thinking it out. Okay, first let me make you understand. Whenever we talk about a method, the thing that you declare that I highlighted on the top, this is called as method heading. Okay,
Okay.
like it's the cap for the method. Okay, it's the heading of the method, and whatever you write internally in this is called method body.
Okay.
Okay, uh, so you understood what is a method and what is a body. So there is a case where I have method heading is always same, but my method body is different.
Yeah.
Okay, so there would be some situation where such things may happen. Heading would be same, but body can be changed. In that case, that is called as method overriding. Means it is nothing but you have one method, you try to update the modify the method. So in that case, we say yes, method overriding.
Okay.
Okay, I will just show you one example. Let me just place this method as a public. Public means anyone can use it, and just copying the same method. Okay.
Okay.
Hmm. So in this case, if my body is something different, okay, because there is one concept I need to tell you. Okay, this is the way. How okay. Okay, just to remember, the method overriding is nothing but I'm just thinking because I didn't tell you one. There is a one concept you get it in future, uh, where method overriding will be a prominent role. Okay,
Okay.
until and unless I tell you that, you won't understand what I'm trying to tell you. Just remember what is method overriding. Okay, method overriding is
Okay.
nothing but where method heading is same, but method heading is same, but the body must be changed. This is called method overriding. Okay.
Okay.
Overriding. Just remember it. Remember it as a theory. Here I won't say this is overriding because I changed even the heading, right? If it is same, it says as duplicate. See, when we say method overriding is like complete heading is same, but body is different. Here you have few lines of code, here no lines of code. So this is called as method overriding. In one class, you cannot create two methods with same name and same parameters. It shows us that duplicate method. So I can't just show you how we can implement method overriding. I will show you implementing method overriding in future. Okay, because there is one more concepts called inheritance. When we do inheritance, we get this method overriding. So let me go with one more concept on methods, which is called as method overloading. Uh, sorry, control Z. Okay. Let's leave it. Okay, what is method overloading? Method overloading is nothing but, okay, method name must be same, but the signatures must be different. Okay, method overloading is nothing but the method name must be same, but the signatures must be different.
Here signature means what?
I will tell you. Okay, different. What is a signature for a method? Signature represents A. Let me put it in A. Number of parameters that you are passing. B. Type of parameters. C. Order of parameters. Okay. I will explain you everything. Method overloading is nothing but where the method heading is same but body is different. Method overriding. Oh, sorry. I again wrote it as an overriding. It's overloading. Overloading. Method overloading is nothing but the method name in heading we have name, right? This is method name. The method name is same but the signatures are different. If these things are different, we call it as method overloading. Okay.
Okay.
What is signature? The number of parameters that you pass to the that you pass in the brackets. There can be many parameters, right? You can pass even. I can pass here as comma int x, comma character char z. Okay, char z. So these are number of parameters means the count of parameters. This is one parameter. This is one parameter. This is one parameter. So we have three parameters. Okay. Either the signature number of parameters are changed means if I copy this method same here. Okay. And if I change one parameter, I am decreasing number of parameters. Okay. If I am decreasing the number of parameters, these two methods having same name but the signatures are different, right? Number of parameters are different, right?
Yes.
Then we call these methods as method overloading, and you didn't get any error saying that you have duplicate methods because their signatures are different. The second case is type of parameter. In this case, if I copy this as same, all having same, means the number of parameters are same, name of the method is same. In that case, we say we got duplicate method, right? We declared duplicate method. In this case, in the slide, we saw number of parameters, right? Now, let me show you type of parameter. If there is a difference in type, means if I change this to float, one of the variable, I'm just renaming it. See, you can declare your methods in such a way. Got it?
Okay.
Okay. And the third one, what I told you is order of parameters. Let me say in the same before example, what we have here, int char. What I do is I just modify it. I just update the order. Got it?
Yes.
So in what cases you use this? Why we need to? Well, I will give you an example why overloading we use it. For suppose I created one website or some program which calculates the salary. Okay.
Okay.
So what my program does is there is one method called calculate the total salary. What salary, how I should calculate the salary. So in order to calculate the salary, when it comes to the class called compute employee salary, it comes to class called compute employee salary, and I have different variables which are having with different values, saying one basic salary. In our payslips we have different components, right? One is basic, extra allowances, HR allowances, right?
Yeah.
So finally, how my salary comes when you compute all of these things, then my complete salary of that month gets calculated, right?
Yes.
So let me put it in an example, because if I explain it, I can make you can understand. But if I show you with a real time example, so it can make you better understand. What I'm doing is employee salary. I'm just creating a class called employee salary with a public static void main. The basic purpose of this class is at the end of every month when they need to post the money to the salary, they every employee comes to they run this code such a way that they pass every employee they calculate this, they calculate the salary for each employee and they does that. So basically let us say they get all the basic components like salary integer, basic salary. This is an let me put this basic salary. Okay. Let, for I'm just saying for Vishnu I'm just computing a basic salary as 10,000. Okay,
Okay.
got it.
Yeah.
Why I am seeing the error here? Because for integer I am declaring it with a string, so I should not use double quotes. So I got it. And next one is PF. PF I should add some value. Let me add it as 2,000. Let's say 2,000 and HR allowances. Let me say 1,000. Okay. And what else do we have? Do we have any let us say extra salary means if there is extra work that I do, I get an extra salary. So extra sal for this month you might have worked for 5 more hours, so for 1 hour they gave you 1,000 rupees because it's an OT time, let's say that. So how I should calculate now is like uh, uh, my basic salary, this is what the salary is. So what I do is I should create one more method to calculate, to compute the salary. So what I do is public uh, void public static. I will explain you what static is in further classes, but for now remember that we use static. And let me put in integer int and say calculate sal. This is a method. Whenever I call this method and I pass all the parameters like int basic, I call it as BS, and int pf and int HR. I'm just passing all the parameters that we have that we need to calculate the salary extra. Okay. If I pass it in such a way, because I showed it here as an int, I should return something, right? RETURN, return some value. Let us, for now I will place it as 0. Okay. So how I calculate the salary is basic salary BS plus HR allowances plus extra salary minus PF. Got it?
Okay.
This is how I calculate my salary. So let me put it in much more clear way to make because I need to show you some examples. Final sal. I should not use final. Let me use computed salary. Salary equal to, I used the formula control V and I place it here. And if I pass this parameter here, that's all. And I will say sys out and I control space and I write Vishnu salary plus I call this method control C and I pass all the parameters for this method like basic this one control C PF the order that we pass for the method should be the same. Okay, PF comma HR LB. I am not sure. Don't check of the spellings. Okay, those are not proper. So when you whatever the if you pass the first parameter, it would go for the first parameter. If you pass this as the second parameter, it will go for this value. If you pass third one will go for HR, fourth one will go for extended. It would automatically compute the variable declarations how you pass. Okay, so in this case, if I run this code, what do I get? I get a statement saying Vishnu salary is, and it gets computed and it will show me on the screen. Let me save it and run it. Okay, Vishnu salary is 14,000. Got it?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
this is a normal case, but let me tell you in what cases we get method overloading. For suppose Vishnu next month got something called instead of PF, he got let's say there is some changes in the structure in this case, and he has one float value also to be computed. Let us say what do we have as a float? Let's say he has some yes, 10 okay, some the shares he brought, and for that shares also they're gonna give you price, and that price would be like 1,200 plus 50 paisa, 50 paisa. Okay, okay, semicolon. Because shares are even computed in paisas, right? So they calculated how many shares they gave you, shares into that money, you got even paisa in that case. Okay,
Okay.
okay. In this case, and shares may be or may not be there for all of them. Okay, for they won't give shares for everyone, only for the highest post people like directors, CEOs, and they give you. And let us say Vishnu is also one of the part of them. Okay, okay, so what they do is here when they calculate the salary, they use the same phenomena. Okay, they pass one more method with the same and say float share also. Here when they compute the share value. Like let's say instead of share, let's say bonus, share bonus. Okay, so when they compute here, they use the share and they compute it here. Because this is a float, here it should be again float will return as a float, right? So
Yes.
here also, okay, let's say this is an int. What they do is they round off this figure and let us say they made it into int. uh, because my concern is I should not show you uh, let's say this is okay. What I'm trying to say you is I want to show you method overloading. If I say float here, and this also will be float, then the method name won't be same, right?
Yes.
No, so what I thought is I just converted, I rounded off the share, even though they give me 10 paisa, we round that and we give them, we again convert it into int and we then give the final value. So the structure that we do is, even though paisa, we neglect them. Okay, so if you see this method, there are two options how to calculate the salary depending on the person's value of the basic structure of his salary. We call the method that we need. So here, as we know, Vishnu's salary is something like this. They pass this bonus here. If I pass bonus, it won't go to this method because this method it doesn't have bonus. It goes to this method because the variables are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it goes to this method and does all the computation and then gives you the value. Got it?
Yeah.
So there is a cases when you write the program itself, there would be cases like you should use the same method name because it's for our understanding, but there will be
But
chances
see
like
here, uh, Ravi. But here we wrote bonus, and
yes,
in
only
other case we write share.
which one I didn't
Hello.
get you.
We wrote bonus in the upside, right? In the first method.
No, no, I didn't get you. Can you speak a little louder? Your voice is not clear.
We wrote share in the below one, and we wrote bonus in the above
Yeah.
one.
Okay. That's a good question. Let me tell you that. See the how Java computes is like it's not like how you declare. Okay, it's just a variable name, right? So
Yes.
whenever you call a method, it would only check for the type, whether it sees the these are the normal variables. These are called local variables. Okay, because these variables only work in between main method. These variables that you declare will work only until main method. Okay, and the variables that you declare internal in this method only will work in this method. Okay, the variable name is never worried. It only works in between method. Let me put it in a better way. Let us say I have bonus here. If I say bonus equal to 10,000, okay, it shows me error because bonus cannot be resolved to a variable. Why? Bonus is only present in this method. Okay, we never got bonus until here. But if I place bonus here, let me not confuse you. Let me put it in one more way, easiest way. Okay, there are two ways the scope of a variable can be there. Okay, okay. Let me explain what is a scope of a variable. First, scope of a variable is nothing but the until where the variable power would be there, until where the variable existence would be there in the code is called a scope of a variable. Did you understand? If I say
Yeah.
my Wi-Fi signal only has an scope until 5 meters, if you cross 5 meters, your scope won't be there. Your Wi-Fi signal scope won't be there, right?
Yes.
So for the same, even for variables or methods, the scope of the variable exists only in between those methods. If you declare the methods internally in that method, because declaration means you declare this method here. So if you declare a method at this place, this variable can be only used in up to here.
Okay.
This is called local variable because that variable only exists for main method. You can use this method power until only main. You cannot use it in calculate salary or any other method and say I declared one method internally. How can I and I can use it anywhere? Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this is one point. There is a scope of a global. Okay, global variable is nothing but if I say global, some variable called sum, not sum. Let me say what cost. For suppose there is a cost cutting happening. Let me say profession. We have every state has its own tax, right? State tax. Okay, state underscore tax equal to 10 rupees or 100 rupees. Normally we for our Indians we have state tax as 200 professional tax. We call it as a professional state tax. This value is always same and this is if I declare this value as an in a class. Okay, I declare this value in a class, right? Not in any method.
Yeah.
So this is called a global variable. So if I copy this method and try to write system.out.println of this method, I'm just trying to see whether the scope exists or not. Okay. just it should be static because I'm trying to call this variable in a static method, so it should be a static. Just remember that. So if you see, the value was if you run the code, you can see the value as 200 here. Got it?
Yeah.
Because this is globally. If you say I am in a class, let me put it in a diagram to make you understand. Let me say this is my class. In a class, I declared a variable called tax. Okay, and there is a subset of methods. Okay, let me put methods with this symbol. Okay, methods. There are many methods. So when you declare a variable called tax, tax has a scope here. Okay, because tax is a global variable, and even this tax has a scope even here, because tax is a global variable. For suppose if I declare a variable called HR basic, if I try to use this basic here, it will show me an error. Basic cannot be resolved because if you try to use basic, got it, Vishnu?
Yeah.
So it's a good question. I am very happy that you asked a nice question. So you know how much scope it is. Okay, what are the scopes? We have only two scopes. One is local variable and globally. If you declare something globally, it can be used at any place in within that globe. If it is a local, only that scope of that variable would be there in within that block. Okay, so let me answer now your question. I have a variable called bonus, which is declared here, means float bonus I declared here. So if I use this float bonus here, and if I am trying to pass as a variable here, okay, so it means I am trying to give my scope to the method called cal salary. Got it?
Yeah.
Means I am giving my value to this method, saying okay, my last variable bonus is a float and it has a value this much. When I declare a method, I anyway need to declare what sort of variables I am getting it, right? I'm just declaring here as int bs. So basic salary value will be going into bs, and pf will be going into pf. hralv will be going to hr, because according to the order and depending on the float on the data type. Okay, exact salary will be going to ext, bonus will be going to share, and here the scope of this variable name is share, so share will be used directly.
Okay. And what about this float before share?
What about?
Float.
Okay, okay, let me show you one more example. I got next question what you will have. Okay, let me play it this way. Okay, let me say I have a float here and the same salary here, and if I modify this, got it, and if I modify it as float, and if I remove this, now duplicate method of float, it gets ambiguous. Okay, what is your question is what about the float, right?
Yes.
Okay, let me put it in a different way. I'm just trying to understand how to place, but it shows me. Okay, method heading is same, but because heading is not same, so this is not an overloading. Okay, method heading should be same, only the parameters if only parameters changes, then we call it as, means the signature changes, then we call it as an overloading. Okay. I'm just trying to thinking how to tell you what you asked. Okay, so let me define one more. Control C. Let me write one more code like this and say, oh, okay, int z, and let me place it z. Okay. Okay. What I'm trying to, okay, see, if you see here, if you remember the yesterday's class, how we gonna, what is a float? Float having value with the decimals, right? What is an integer?
Yes.
Integer without decimals. If I give you a value saying, okay, this is my value, just to utilize it and pass it. Uh, uh, okay. What I declared is, first line I am calling it a method called call salary with basic salary, PF, HRA, external and bonus. Okay. And again, what I gonna do is I gonna copy this and write it here and say this is it. Okay, here what you see, the method heading, method name is same, but only the type of parameters are different, right? Only the last one type is different, right?
Yeah.
So when you there is small logic here. When you, okay, when which method? Let me place one sys dot out here, sys out, and say this is in float method. I'm just trying to show you which method gets executed which point of time. Okay, let me say this as int method, because the last value is int, the last variable that you are passing is int. And if I run this code, what happens is, like, see, first my code, let me explain you line by line. First my code comes here, I run the class, the what dot class file gets created. When I run the class, dot class files will create a will has a value called sales tax with 200 and comes to the main method. In main method, basic salary will be 10,000 and PF will be 2,000, HRA will be 1,000. Means memory is getting created for these variables. EXT salary is 5,000, bonus is 2 point float, and Z is 100, and comes to this. So it prints system.out.println of sales tax as 200. Next it goes to system.out.Vishnu salary plus calculates, and it would see, okay, basic salary int, this is okay. PF salary, this is int, okay. HR salary, it is, HR salary is int, right? So here it checks for int. External salary is int, this is also int, but it has how many, one more variable extra, so this variable would be here, right? Normally it checks like, okay, how many variables cal salary is 1 2 3 4 5, how many methods we have? This has only 4, this has 5, and this has 5. So out of these two you should see which one is the right one. So here base salary isn't, PF isn't, HR isn't, external salary isn't, but bonus is float. So where, in which, in these two methods which has float? Okay, this is float. So this bonus value will be transferred to share. Uh, all these values will be transferred to this. Okay, you got it? How it gonna find which method you should go?
Yeah.
Depending on the declared type of the variable that you are passing, it checks for the correct method which it is. Okay, whichever it is, because this is float, it checks for the float method and sends the values here and print it. So when you see the first output, you see system.out.println of float method. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. When you come to this, what I'm passing z is an integer, so it goes to this method. So I just try to print out int method, so you see this, because the z is int. Got it?
Yeah.
Now, is it clear whatever the question you asked, why even though on the top it is bonus but down it is share, on the top it is z, down it is share, or on the top it is hr alv but down it is hr in this method?
Yeah.
You understood the concept, right? Earlier,
Yeah.
when you pass the value, you pass with that variable, but to your method, you already declared that, okay, my variable is HR now. I take this value and place it in HR. So this method will use HR. The scope of this method is HR is integer. It would be in with the variable name called HR. Okay.
Okay.
Such a way. So let me just show you one more thing. I'm just commenting the in int method. Okay, I'm just running the
And what
code.
is this return means?
Okay, return is nothing but it just returns the value of computed things from that method. Okay, when you declare method, you first one is public. Public means you can use this method anywhere, or you can call this method from anywhere. Okay, static is nothing but static methods. I will explain you this concept afterwards. Next important thing that you should write is return. What are you going to return from for this method? The return type of the method is called as return. Okay, so if you are returning integer, you should mention here as int. If you are returning float, you should return as float. See, main method returns nothing. You don't see any return statement, so you return void. When you won't return anything from your method, just place void. But if you are returning something, if you are returning a string, you should declare the method name with a string before the method name. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. This is nothing but why we need to use return. Let me explain you that. See, if you see this, I can write the same line of code here and print it, right? Can I calculate
Yeah.
BS? I can do the basic plus HRA plus extension minus PF plus bonus here. I can write it, right?
Yes.
But why I didn't do this? Why I didn't do this is because I felt calculation of a salary is always been done again and again. So if I write code everything in one method, to modify small piece of code, I should go and read complete code in future. If it is 1,000 lines, I should go and read 1,000 lines. But if it is single method, I can just come here and change. For example, if some other if I want to make PF plus, I can make it here. So it's an code refactoring or code management way how we create each method for a specific process. When you say my target is to calculate sum of salaries, every time when we calculate, we send all these components. Okay, all these components here. And for suppose if tomorrow they ask you to add one more, there is nothing like you can write all the code in here again. You can just call this method and say pass the parameters. That's it. It will compute and give you. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, you computed and you printed it, but your method should return something. If it is void, there is no use, right? If it is void, there is no use. You can print the statements like how you printed here, but if you want this value to be into this method, after calculating, you want the computed value into some other variable. Like I created one more variable into final salary. Final salary equal to, I can just call the method call calculate salary and I can pass the values like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. F 7.0. Right? Why it should, yes, should be caps. Wow. Got it?
Yeah.
So if your method is written, if you want to write a method such a way that it returns something, you should always make sure that before the method name that return type should be declared and return keyword should be written, and whatever you want to return you should return it at the last line after the computation. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Last line means your method in any case, see there can be many conditions happening in between your method, in your method. In for every condition there should be one return. I will tell you why. Let me put it in this way. Just it's an extension of your coding thinking levels, but nothing in perspective. So in this code, if I come to this method, there is only one single line. If it happens, then it goes to the second line and it returns, right?
Yeah.
Let us say if I wrote a code such a way that just to return the value, there are many conditions like this. Okay, here my condition is like, okay, I check some variable called state underscore tax is greater than 100, is greater than 100, and if a state tax is less than 100, let me put it in this way, and if state tax is greater than or equal to 100, else there are three conditions. In my method there are few manipulations. What my salary structure was is like, so if the salary is less than, if your state salary is less than 100, please make not, let me put it in another way. Yeah, okay, computed. So there is a rule when you calculate a salary. For example, company has created a new rule saying, okay, when we compute a salary, please make sure that if the computed salary is less than 10,000, okay, if it is less than 10,000, okay, they say return the salary without cutting any tax, okay, state tax. Got it?
Yeah.
Return computed salary as computed salary. So you are returning one return, you are returning it here. Okay. So, but if it is greater than 10,000, then they say please return the salary such a way that you minus the state tax. Okay.
Okay.
This is a rule. There would be many rules, right? When you say else, if it is greater than 10, how many possible ways you see? It should be either nonsense. Okay. Okay. If you see here, you are returning some value in this condition, you are returning some value here, right? But if there is a case where, of course, this else will never work out because a number can be either less than 10,000 or greater than or equal to 10,000, right?
Yeah.
But let me put this condition like this. There is a case called when your salary is equal to 10,000, you come to this else, right?
Yes.
In this case, if I am not writing any return, I forgot to write I forgot to write else or something like this. So here what it says, see, the method must return a result of type int. Everything is int. Salary, oh, everything is int. Okay. Why I'm telling you this example is like, if you are writing returns in between a condition, you should make sure all the returns should be satisfied in all levels. Got it?
Yeah.
Other ways, what happens is like, if your code gets executed and for suppose the code gets into the complexion into that else case, there would be returned null, nothing. For example, if I am not declaring this anything here, and if I am running the code, anyway, it shows you error saying that you should declare something. See, if you are not declaring, it asks you to declare. When I declare, error goes off.
Okay.
Or or in this case, what you can do is you can write a return statement at the end of the method and use some variables here. Computed salary, you can compute the salary as it is. If you are not modifying anything, remove this, just place computed salary as it is, or you can make this as complete like this, control C, control V equal to, or you can calculate like this. Okay, and you can return the return here. Got it?
Okay.
You understood the difference, right? Why writing return in between if and writing return at the end.
Yeah.
So my best suggestion is, whenever you try to write a code, use return at the last statement. Even though you can write return in between the conditions, make sure all the, you see, if you write in between the conditions, you may forget writing condition for one value. Like earlier you forgot, for example, if you don't write else at the bottom, you forget the value where compute salary is equal to 10,000. There, if you are not handling the code, it may break. In order to get out of that situations, what I would suggest is compute the value as you wish and return the value at the end. So if you write return at the end, in every case the value would be written properly.
Okay.
Okay, that is the way how you can do this. Okay. Okay, this is how we call methods. So the main concept of why we started and why we went here is like, we can use finally keyword for even for variables and even for methods. And in methods we have two different types: method overloading and method overriding. Method overriding is nothing but heading is same but body is different. But method overloading, load means method name is same but the signature of the methods are different. So I just showed you the different ways how we can use the method overloading, right? How we can,
Yes.
how they are useful in our day-to-day coding, day-to-day coding wise. Okay, so one more thing what I want to is, if suppose there is a case saying I don't want to make my method modified. Okay, if I say, if I use final, okay, if I say if I say a method as a final, it means like, again, no one can modify this method, or they cannot change anything internally in this method. This method code internally would always be same. Okay, so when it comes to final, uh, okay, when it comes to method overload, okay, what is the main thing? Okay, final at method level. Okay, just remember one point is like, when you say, when you use method at final, when you use method, a final word for a method, it can be used at anywhere. It can be used anywhere, but they cannot be overridden. Means if you use a method called final, you can never override them. Means overriding means method heading is same, body is different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you use final at a method level, you should make it means that that method can never be overridden. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Finally, at class level. Okay. I am not sure whether I can tell you this, but there is a concept called base class and an derived class. Finally, at okay. Final at a class level. Okay.
రవి ఇది రేపు చెప్పుకుందామా
Okay.
సాయంత్రం చెప్పు
Okay. Okay. I didn't see the time. That's fine. Okay. Let's do this tomorrow then. Okay.
ఎందుకంటే I have school and exam today.
Okay. Okay. Fine. 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 Okay.
I have to get ready.
Okay. Fine. That's okay.
So you told that you will wake up in the morning and you are going to take the class, right? Is it possible for you?
At what time? 9:30?
Yes.
Huh?
9:30 or 10, it's up to you because you have some
I will
direct.
give you a call before I start the class. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Fine. Thanks.
I will remind you once I will call you. Okay.
If you are ready, also give me a call.
Okay, Ravi. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.